He deserved to be a real boy. And it sure was nice of you to... Huh? What?
All right, class. Now that we've finished watching Pinocchio, I expect you all to finish your 50-page report on the film by Monday morning.
Oh, I think it's swell.
Huh. It looks like I'm not in Toronto anymore. Oh, hey, Mr. Peterson! You're here too? Billy Swanson? You're in my afternoon class. How did you get here and where are we? Oh yeah, I just took my anti-anxiety meds right after class and then somehow I wound up here. Apparently, we're in the land of Oz, and if we just follow that yellow brick road, we'll get to Emerald City where there's this wizard that can grant us any wish and he can get us back home. Okay, well, how do you know all of this? Those weird-looking midgets over there just told me. They call themselves Munchkins. Oh, okay. I see. Well, why are they all dead? Oh, I found out they were communists. That book you kept telling me to read, The Gulag Archipelago, it really freaked me out, so I just killed them all before they could send me over to a labor camp. One of those freaks even tried to give me a free lollipop. Okay, Billy, whatever you do, just please don't tell anyone that I gave you this idea. My reputation is already bad enough as it is. Hi everyone, so I'm sure by now most of you are familiar with Frank Tufano, at least if you've been following my content for any length of time. And of course Frank, he's a carnivore YouTuber. He tells everyone to eat plenty of meat, dairy, eggs, lots of artery-clogging saturated fat and cholesterol. But of course, you have to avoid fruits and vegetables. That's what's really unhealthy for you. But I never thought I'd make a worst of the fitness industry video on Frank because Frank was never a fitness YouTuber. He was just this skinny, malnourished kid who didn't work out and he just talked about diet. But that's changed recently. He's started uploading bodybuilding style content, vlogs, training videos, transformation videos, and he's even come out with his own supplement line. But we'll get to all of that later on in the video. What makes Frank's channel interesting, what makes him stand out on YouTube, it's not really the content that he uploads necessarily. It's more about who Frank is as a person. It's just fun to watch someone who's just a complete train wreck embarrass themselves on the internet. And Frank has some serious psychological issues. He may even suffer from narcissism. And what you'll often see with Frank's channel, his content, his behavior, is he tends to project his own insecurities and shortcomings onto other people. One really great example of this is the homophobia. He constantly tries to make fun of people for being gay, for being effeminate, and just recently came out with a really disgusting video doing this.
Now, I'm inclined to believe those people are an organized group of Satan-worshipping butt buddies, but I'm also a fairly open-minded individual, and if you can't beat them, join them. See you boys at Ram Ranch, 18 naked Cargill cowboys in the showers at Ram Ranch. Woo-wee! Ram Ranch really rocks. That being said, my carnivore buddies do spend a little extra time in the showers at Ram Ranch after I leave. Now, before y'all think I'm crazy, hear me out on this one. At Ram Ranch, we have the givers and the receivers. In the context of the Cargill cowboy community, we call these bottoms and tops. I myself prefer to identify as neither, as I don't participate in such satanic activities. Love me, you good woman.
So Frank is extremely homophobic. Whenever he talks about homosexuality, he uses pejorative terms like butt buddy, and he always acts as if homosexuality is something that you should be ashamed of. And Frank also has another theory about homosexuality. He thinks that your diet can actually change your sexuality. So Frank thinks if you eat a lot of meat that isn't from grass-fed animals, or if you eat a vegan diet, it will turn you gay. So Frank made a video titled Vegan Butt Buddies, suggesting that all of these vegan fitness influencers, they're gay, but literally every single person he mentioned in this video, like Nimai Delgado, Chris Moore, Derek from Simnet Nutrition, Brian Turner, John Venus, they are all straight heterosexual males that have female partners. They either have girlfriends or wives. Some of these people have children. So this doesn't really make sense. Frank is claiming that if you go vegan, you'll be gay. But all of the vegans he criticizes, they're not gay. Are you two gentlemen looking for a good time? Only $200 an hour and I'll do anything you boys want. No, thank you. I'm not interested in gay trannies, especially not after they nearly cost me my job. Oh, what? No, I'm not gay. Did somebody tell you I was gay? Did you see any of my gay porn films? You know it's illegal to see that, right, without my permission. You know, you could go to the Wizard in Emerald City and wish to not be gay anymore. We're both going there right now. I told you I'm not gay, but really, the Wizard will be able to turn me straight? So Frank ended up receiving a lot of criticism for these stupid claims that somehow diet is related to sexuality. So Frank thought it would be a good idea to upload a video titled "A Vegan Diet Will Make You a Fairy Boy," where he attempted to provide actual research evidence for this ridiculous claim he came up with.
Now, before vegans say that eggs, dairy, and meat have more estrogen than certain plant foods, I mean, they're absolutely right. But things like soy formula and certain plant foods are just as estrogenic, if not more so, than animal-based alternatives. Our food supply is tainted with estrogen, whether you're vegan or carnivore. Oh-wee! Prenatal endocrine influences on sexual orientation and on sexually differentiated childhood behavior. The evidence supports a role for prenatal testosterone exposure in the development of sex-typed interest in childhood, as well as in sexual orientation in later life, at least for some individuals. These organizing actions of sex steroids on behavior are paralleled by irreversible changes in brain structure. Embryonic sex steroids differentiate the size of several brain structures, including the sexually dimorphic nucleus of the preoptic area. This group of cells is 5 to 6 times larger in male rats than in females, and this difference results almost exclusively from the action of testosterone during late embryonic life and the first days of postnatal life. Once acquired, the sex-typical size cannot be altered in adulthood by steroid hormones. So basically, altered hormone levels in the brain during developmental periods will determine your sexual orientation by permanently changing parts of your brain. If you look at any studies, all the medical literature points to this same conclusion. This preference for a partner of the same or the opposite sex is also determined by prenatal hormones and can be reversed by hormonal treatments during early development, weeks preceding or immediately after birth, depending on the species. There is no disputing this, and people that say you're born gay are technically right. But if there wasn't estrogen in the water, it might not have happened.
So, as you could expect, everything Frank said was just completely false. He totally misrepresented the research here, and he cherry-picked a lot of things. So, first of all, the way Frank edited this video, he made it seem as though he was only referencing one single research paper, when in fact, he was referencing multiple. So, the first paper he referenced was titled "Prenatal Endocrine Influences on Sexual Orientation and on Sexually Differentiated Childhood Behavior," and the second paper was titled "Mini Review Hormones and Human Sexual Orientation." So I think it was strange the way Frank edited this, and he also didn't give a link to any of his sources, so I think Frank tried to deliberately hide his sources in this video, and he just cherry-picked certain sections to make it seem as though, oh look, this research is supporting his claims, when in reality, no, if you actually read it, the exact opposite of what he said is true. His misrepresentation of this research is so bad that literally the exact opposite of what he's saying is true. So Frank said multiple times in the clip I just showed you that exposure to estrogen gives you female typical traits. So if a male is exposed to estrogen during like prenatal development, the male will be more feminine, it'll have feminine characteristics, you'll become a fairy boy, and the male will also be more likely to be attracted to men. Well, if you read the research that Frank referenced, actually that's not the case. If a male is exposed to estrogen, you are more likely to have male-type traits and be attracted to females, so be heterosexual. So this is from the first paper that Frank referenced. Many of the influences of early exposure to testosterone on sexual differentiation of brain and behavior in rodents occur after the testosterone has been converted within the brain to estrogen. This conversion occurs via the action of the enzyme aromatase. Neural and behavioral masculinization by estrogen is surprising and counterintuitive, and it is an excellent example of scientific research revealing something that would otherwise not have been expected. The evidence is convincing, however, at least in some species. Treating developing female rats with estradiol or other estrogens does not have feminizing effects, but the opposite. The effect of estrogens resembling those of testosterone, increasing male typical sexual behavior and the volume of the SDNPOA, it's an area of the brain, and reducing female typical sexual behavior. Additional evidence that estrogen plays a role in neurobehavioral and masculinization early in life comes from evidence that blocking conversion of androgen to estrogen or blocking estrogen receptors has some of the same effects as castration, even in the presence of high testosterone levels. So clearly, Frank deliberately misrepresented this paper. Literally the exact opposite of what he said was true. According to the paper that he referenced this, exposure to estrogen is more likely to give you male pattern characteristics and behavior. It's more likely to make you attracted to females. Now, this is only in an animal model, by the way, so you can't really take too much from this. We'll get to the human research in just a bit. But according to the first paper that Frank referenced, no, estrogen in development, it's more likely to give you male-type characteristics, more likely to have you attracted to females. So let's take a look at the second paper that Frank referenced. Exposure to testosterone or its metabolite estradiol, so estrogen, induces male-typical partner preference for a female over a male sex partner, whereas in the absence of high concentrations of these steroids, a female pattern of mate preference will develop, preference for a male partner. So again, the study had the exact same findings. Low concentrations of estrogen actually cause homosexuality in males. And here's more from the study that I thought was interesting and also refutes some more of Frank's claims. Many studies have analyzed the potential influence of steroids on human sexual orientation. They have clearly established that sexual orientation is not affected by activational effects of steroids in adulthood. Gonadectomy, so removal of the testes, does not influence orientation, nor does adult treatment with the androgens and estrogens. Furthermore, numerous studies have clearly established that plasma concentration of sex steroids are perfectly normal, typical of gonadal sex in both gay men and lesbians. So again, this just shows how insane and ridiculous Frank's claims are. So this is just all animal experimentation. None of this has anything to do with humans, and even if we did assume that hormone concentrations during prenatal development influenced sexual orientation later in life, well, it clearly shows that exposure to estrogen does not have a feminizing effect in boys. In fact, it has a masculinizing effect, so you're less likely to become a gay fairy boy like Frank claims. And secondly, again, this is only during prenatal stages. So only pregnant women would have to worry about this. So if you're a man, if you're a woman who isn't pregnant or not planning to become pregnant, then this just does not relate to you in any way. So Frank claiming that your diet will change your sexuality, it is absolutely absurd, stupid, ridiculous, and it is just plain homophobic. Now let's take a look at the first study that Frank Tufano referenced, and we'll take a look at the human research, not rats, humans. So there is a condition called congenital adrenal hyperplasia, which increases androgen secretion in women, and the fetus is exposed to much higher levels of androgens than they would otherwise normally be exposed to. So some research has been done on this. The overwhelming conclusion from these studies is that women with congenital adrenal hyperplasia are less likely to be exclusively or almost exclusively heterosexual than other women. So women who are exposed to increased androgens during prenatal development, they are more likely to be homosexual. However, there is no evidence that this would increase homosexuality in men. So this next section dealt with prenatal exposure to estrogen and sexual orientation in women. So there was a drug called diethylstilbestrol, not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but DES for short. It's a synthetic estrogen that was widely prescribed to pregnant women in the 1940s, 50s, and 60s. Well, they took a look at these women. So these women who were exposed to DES during the prenatal stage of development were more likely to have reduced heterosexual orientation. So again, women who were exposed to more estrogen during prenatal development were more likely to be homosexual. This mirrors what we saw in the animal models. So next, let's take a look at how this would affect boys. Prenatal exposure to ovarian hormones and sexual orientation in men. So they did the similar sort of thing with what they did with the girls. One study compared two groups of men exposed to synthetic estrogen, DES, prenatally to matched controls. One group included 17 men exposed to DES alone, and the second included 21 men exposed to DES along with natural progesterone. The study also included 10 men exposed prenatally to natural progesterone alone, and 13 men exposed prenatally to synthetic progestins alone. Each of these groups was compared to match controls. None of the four groups of hormone-exposed men differed from their respective controls in sexual orientation and fantasy or behavior. In addition, for all four samples combined, non-heterosexual orientation was reported by 8 of the 61 hormone-exposed men, 13%, and by 8 of the 60 control men, 13%, so no difference between the groups. Two other research teams have also looked at sexual orientation in men exposed to DES prenatally, so again, the synthetic estrogen, and have found no evidence of reduced heterosexual orientation. One studied 46 men exposed to DES and 29 unexposed controls. Men exposed to DES actually had somewhat more heterosexual coital experiences than did controls, but did not differ in the number of heterosexual or homosexual coital partners. Nevertheless, these findings overall suggest that prenatal exposure to estrogen does not feminize sexual orientation in developing males, and this conclusion is consistent with predictions from results of experimental studies in other species. So Frank completely misrepresented this research, and I believe he did it deliberately. He claimed that prenatal exposure to estrogen will make you gay, it'll make you feminine, when if you actually read the research that he referenced, the research that he referenced debunks his own claims. Exposure to estrogen in the prenatal stage of development does not have feminizing effects and does not increase the risk of homosexuality in both a human and animal model. So Frank literally just lied. He just made up complete bullcrap and lied to his audience just so he can create a homophobic joke, just so that he could say, haha, vegans are gay. Well, why did he do this? Why does he constantly accuse everyone of being gay and use these homophobic insults all the time? Well, remember at the beginning of the video I said Frank has a lot of psychological issues and he tends to project his own insecurities onto other people? Well, it turns out that Frank is gay. He has admitted to being a gay prostitute. Frank used to have a Chatterbait account, and during one of his Chatterbait streams, he admitted that he works as an escort. He performs sexual services for his escort clients. He does everything his escort client says, and he's only ever had male escort clients. So, yeah, he's a gay prostitute. Here's the clip.
I mean, maybe, honestly, the main reason, I wouldn't have sex with nearly as many dudes if I didn't escort, that's for sure. What do you do with guys? I do whatever they want. Have you escorted for a woman? Not yet.
So that explains it all. Frank is, making these homophobic insults constantly, lying to his audience that somehow diet is related to homosexuality because he's insecure about his past gay sex work. He's insecure about his own sexuality, and so he just projects those insecurities onto everyone else. Well, this looks like the place. Wizard of Oz, is that you?
Yeah, obviously I'm the wizard, dumbass. Who else would I be?
Okay, well, we all came here to ask for a wish?
Yeah, I know. Why the hell else would you be here? Are you gonna keep talking my ear off, or are you gonna make a wish already? All right, let me go first. Wizard of Oz, can you turn me straight? You're gay. No, never mind. It was just a joke, all right? I'm not gay. It was just a joke. Well, okay, fine. If you're not gay, then I guess there's no point in granting you your wish. Okay, fine, I'm gay, all right? Can you just make me my wish already? Nuh-uh, that's not good enough. If you want me to grant you your wish, you have to admit to being a weak little sissy fairy boy.
And it doesn't just stop there at the homophobia thing. Literally everything. He projects everything onto other people. He accused vegans of being sugar addicts in this really stupid video.
As you can see, I haven't been doing so well lately, and but it's not so bad because most of my diet is natural sugars. Those are fine. You know, like maple syrup, like honey.
So Frank is accusing vegans of being addicted to sugar sources like honey, which is weird because honey isn't vegan, it's an animal product, so you can't eat honey as a vegan. And secondly, Frank eats honey all day long. He literally eats spoonfuls of it right out of a jar.
Here I just have some raw Italian honey. Raw honey actually has an enzyme in it that reduces insulin spikes, but I would just get any type of, local honey. Raw is best. This is Italian orange blossom honey. And again, what we're doing here is just getting an amount of glucose and fructose that our liver and our stomach can absorb efficiently in about 20 minutes. Honey is one of the few plant foods that's still in its natural wild state compared to a lot of other things we eat today. So currently with the honey, I'm spreading it out in intervals throughout the day so that I, digest it efficiently and I'm not overloading my body, with all the sugar at once. After the meal, I'll have around like 30 grams worth of sugar, so that's about 2 tablespoons of honey. I mean, sometimes I want more and I have like 3 or 4 tablespoons. Then it depends on when I go to the gym. Either way, about an hour before I go to the gym, I have another 30 grams of sugar. And then when I'm at the gym, when I pull into the parking lot, I'll have maybe another tablespoon. Sometimes I've even I'll mix some honey in some water and I'll drink some honey water throughout the workout.
And I think the reason Frank started eating all of this honey and drinking sugar water is because he had to, just for athletic performance. Frank has been following the carnivore diet for a while, which is pretty much 0 carb, but suddenly he started doing bodybuilding, really high-intensity weight training, and that is very carbohydrate-demanding exercise. I'm sure some of you have tried to do bodybuilding on a low-carb diet, and a lot of people suffer really bad blood sugar crashes when they do that. They have no energy, they start shaking, they feel like they might pass out. So to have energy to work out and really make any good gains and progress in the gym, you need carbohydrates. And I think Frank found that out. And he actually made a video about how athletes require carbohydrates. And he admitted that after eating honey, he got a performance benefit from it.
So if you are training at a fairly high intensity or for a significant amount of time every day, sugars will restore glycogen faster compared to fat, protein, or starches. Personally, my best performance was after drinking some goat's milk, but I'm allergic, and I think that was just because my heart was beating so fast as I was having an anaphylactic reaction to the goat milk. I've also noticed an increase in performance after using honey.
But then later in a vlog that he made recently, he lied and he claimed that he wasn't getting any performance benefit from eating more carbohydrates in the form of honey. So what I'm guessing happened was he ate more carbs from honey and he noticed he had a lot more energy. Obviously, that's going to happen. But then he was ashamed to admit that he was wrong about not needing carbs for athletic performance. So then in the most recent vlog, he just lied and said, oh no, I'm not eating honey because, you know, for energy, I'm just eating it for calories.
I haven't noticed a performance increase over when I was eating fat. The problem is now I'm not eating fat, so I need to get my calories from somewhere. I will say that I noticed a performance increase from consuming milk before I worked out.
So this isn't something that you'll notice from watching just one Frank Tufano video, but if you watch him over time, you'll notice that he lies about virtually everything. And one of his most recent big lies is with his new supplement line. So he has this new supplement company thing called Organ Supplements, and it seems that he's lying about what's in these products. So if you go over to his vitamin K2 supplement, he claims that this supplement contains vitamin K2 in the form of MK4, which he claims is an animal form of this vitamin. Like, the only real source of this is from animals. And the plant form of vitamin K2 is in the form of MK7, which isn't as good. So if you looked at this product page, it strongly suggests that this supplement contains MK4 vitamin K2, the animal form, and the K2 in this product is animal-derived. Well, on a live stream, Frank spilled the beans, pun intended, and admitted that the source of vitamin K2 in the supplement comes from a plant.
What does the K2 supplement come from? It's a natural type of, they ferment a special plant, and they extract the K2 from it.
So clearly, Frank just isn't being truthful about these supplements he's selling. On the website, he suggests that, oh, the vitamin K2 supplement, it's animal-derived, but then on a live stream, he admits that he's getting this from a special fermented plant. I'm assuming he's getting it from fermented soybeans or natto, which is where most of these vitamin K2 supplements, you know, get their K2 from, which is funny because he claims this product contains no soy, even though it sounds like this product is derived from soy. Weird. But anyway, he's totally untrustworthy. There's no point to buying any supplement from him when clearly he lies about everything. Just look at the product page. It says this contains vitamin K2, but what proportion of this is MK4, MK7? Why doesn't he mention on the product page where this vitamin K2 is coming from when on other companies disclose this? They admit that it's coming from something like natto. Frank is also making health claims about the supplement which isn't true, and that might be illegal. I'm not sure. Somebody might want to just report him to the FDA. But anyway, Frank is claiming that the MK4 version of vitamin K2 in the supplement, I'm not even sure if it has MK4, but whatever. Frank is claiming that the MK4 version of vitamin K2 in the supplement has been shown to reduce coronary artery calcification, whereas MK7, which is found in plants, does not. This isn't true. Neither MK4 or MK7 is associated with coronary artery calcification, so neither seem to have any negative or benefit to it. And MK4 has a very, very low bioavailability. Multiple studies have been done on this, and generally speaking, even if you supplement MK4, it doesn't show up in the serum. It doesn't actually increase serum concentrations of MK4, whereas MK7 is extremely bioavailable. So yeah, again, just no point in buying his supplements. He is lying about the supposed health benefits, or if he's not lying, he's just wrong, and he won't even tell you what's in these supplements. And along with lying about research, his diet, the supplements he sells, Frank also lies about his gains. Whereas Brad Castleberry has pioneered fake weights, Frank is pioneering fake gains. So he did this bodybuilding transformation thing, and this might seem like an impressive transformation, but it's not really. Frank lied about how much progress he actually made. So his first weigh-in video, when he just started this transformation, he weighed in at 148 pounds.
This is going to be my starting physique. Currently, I am 5'8", technically 5'7" and like 9/10, just under 5'8". Weighed in at 140 pounds. Some of you guys might not believe my weight of 140 pounds, and I weighed this much 2 days ago after finishing a 3-day fast, and I had a big meal this morning.
So I have gained a bit of the weight back, and keep in mind my camera and my tripod weigh a few pounds. 148. So I'm about 145, 146 right now without holding the camera.
Right, so Frank's initial weigh-in was 148. He said without the camera and tripod, he probably weighs 145 or 146. We'll grant that. But then, 3 months later, he made an update video to his whole bodybuilding progress transformation, and he said this.
So it's been almost 3 months since I've started lifting weights again, after a several year hiatus of 8 to 9 years of bodybuilding. I've put on about 15 pounds of lean mass over the past 3 months, started at 142 pounds, now I'm around 156 at 5'8".
So after doing bodybuilding for 3 months, doing this transformation, he lied about his initial weigh-in weight. He weighed in at 148 initially, and now he's claiming he weighed in at 142 initially. And then he also said he gained about 15 pounds of lean mass. So if we went from 148 to plus 15 pounds 3 months later, he would weigh in at least 160 pounds if we grant, the camera weight he was holding. But then, 3 months after this 3-month update, so his 6-month transformation video, which is the most recent transformation he's uploaded, what did he weigh in at?
So, this is 6-month transformation. I've put on about, 15, 20 pounds of lean mass. I think the real telltale sign is the amount of weight I've put on without a real increase in body fat. So let's take a look at the scale.
So let's check the weight on the scale. 156.6.
So now Frank is claiming that he gained 15 to 20 pounds of lean mass since he first started this bodybuilding transformation. But if you look at the scale weight, he started out at 148 and now he weighs 156.6. So he only gained 8.5 pounds in 6 months, yet he's claiming he gained 15 to 20 pounds of lean mass. And this whole timeline doesn't make any sense. 3 months ago, he said he weighed 156 and he gained 15 pounds of lean mass. So he lied then, he's lying now. He only gained 8.5 pounds in total in the last 6 months. And that's not all lean mass. He started eating a lot more food before he started doing this bodybuilding thing. He admitted that he tries to eat under 1,500 calories per day, and he only eats 1 meal per day.
I mean, I consume less than 1,500 calories a day. I eat literally minimally as possible.
Me being in the gym every day this week requires me to eat more meals. So instead of my normal 1 meal per day, I've been eating 2 large meals per day.
And on top of that, since he started eating more, he's also been eating more carbohydrates. He's been eating more honey. So some of this weight gain is just from eating more food, water weight, a little bit of body fat. So I'd say in total he probably gained like 4 or 5 pounds of muscle, and then the rest is like water weight and a bit of body fat. Is 4 to 5 pounds of muscle gain in 6 months for a guy who claims he was bodybuilding for 8 years, and he's basically just relying on muscle memory. Is that impressive? No. And it kind of makes sense why he made such little progress. It's because he trains like this.
Stop bench pressing for chest growth. Most people don't actually have a difficult time building up their chest as a muscle group. However, I do this with a light weight to isolate the muscle, so the rep range is usually 15 to 20 for the lighter sets. This is better for symmetry, and you can even do one arm at a time if you wanted to. Really make sure to stretch out the lats during the negative and squeeze your back at the end of the positive repetition. I'm a huge fan of hyperextensions. If you make sure to really squeeze your back at the top of the movement, they don't just work your lower back. Deadlifts and partial deadlifts, aka rack pulls, are great for this as well. Although they tend to stress the lower back more than hyperextensions, if you restrict the deadlift to the upper half of the movement, it puts more stress on the upper back as opposed to the lower back, glutes, and hamstrings.
So Frank doesn't know how to train. His technique is so bad, in fact, that it's dangerous. He should probably hire a trainer. Hence the lack of progress that he's made. He's never been a big dude. He's always been pretty small. But Frank has an excuse for this. Frank claims that he doesn't work out his legs, and if he did work out his legs, well then he'd weigh over 170 pounds.
As you guys could tell, I don't work out my legs. I mean, you know, they're lean. I've never worked out my legs. I didn't think it looked good from the aesthetic standpoint, but if I worked out my legs, I should really weigh about like 170, 175. So the upper body mass is a little bit misleading for my body weight, you know, as well as, you know, the bone structure, the joint size.
And of course, Frank is once again lying to make up for some sort of shortcoming that he perceives he has. So for comparison, here's Chris Jones. In this photo, he weighs 175 pounds, and he is absolutely ripped to the bone getting ready for a bodybuilding competition. And keep in mind, Chris Jones is 5'7", so he's about the same height as Frank. Frank admitted that he's under 5'8", so there's less than an inch of height difference between these two. And Frank is claiming that he'd be about the same weight as Chris Jones at virtually the same height if he only trained his legs. Not even in your dreams, Frank. So this is just, again, delusional lying and manipulation by Frank to make people think that he has more gains and he's made more progress than he really has. In reality, Frank is a small, weak little boy who doesn't know how to train, doesn't know how to eat, so he makes up for his shortcomings by lying. There you go, Frank Tufano, worst of the fitness industry.
All right, I'm a weak little sissy fairy boy, okay? Oh my god, see everyone? I can't believe he admitted it. He admitted he's a weak little sissy fairy boy. Well, are you gonna grant me my wish or not?
Hey, look over here. I'm afraid there's no treatment or any kind of magic that can cure homosexuality. However, there is a cure for self-hatred and inner turmoil, and as your psychologist, I created this wizard persona to get you to face your inner demons and confront who you really are. Well, wait a second, I don't understand. Who are you? Well, I am you. Or should I say, I am a potential future version of you if you start cleaning up your damn room and take responsibility for your life. I suggest you take my self-authoring program. It has helped thousands of young men map out a plan for their future. Well, okay, but how do we get home? Well, that's easy. Just clasp your hands together like this and repeat, "That's not what I said. That's 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 not what I said."